I want to let my friends stay at our house for a while.
One day, my second-grade daughter came home with a boy from her class. I was shocked by the suddenness of it. When I tried to contact the boy's parents, my daughter stopped me.
Keep it a secret from everyone.
When I asked for the reason, the boy started to cry. My name is Sally Jones. The time in my 20s flew by quickly, and before I knew it, I was in my 30s. I think it's because I had various life events in my 20s, like starting a job, marrying someone I loved, and getting pregnant. I wasn't very good at talking to men, so I thought I could never get married, but my current husband is the only man besides my father with whom I can open my heart. After getting married, when I consulted with my husband about continuing to work, he told me I could do as I pleased, so I am still working. I've heard that in recent years, many companies have rapidly incorporated remote work, and I have also transitioned to working remotely. With no commute time, I can use that time effectively, so working remotely isn't bad. Especially, I am working while raising my precious only daughter, Riley, who is now in 2nd grade. When I was going to the office, there was no time to have breakfast slowly with my daughter. However, since switching to remote work, I can sit at the table with my daughter, listen to her talk, and check her belongings. My husband is often away on a single assignment. Sometimes I feel lonely. However, when my husband comes home occasionally, he brings souvenirs and stuffed animals that my daughter likes.
Are you not overdoing it? If you have any problems, just let me know anytime.
He is a kind husband who even thinks of me. There are times when I really want to say that I feel lonely, but when I feel his kindness, I feel motivated to do my best for my daughter. I'm really glad to have married such a husband. And I am very happy to have met our precious daughter. One day, Riley brought a friend from her class, Wilson, to our house. I assumed she brought him to play at home and said, "I'll get some snacks ready, so make yourself comfortable," and started to head to the kitchen. Riley stopped me.
Mom, wait.
I looked at Riley and the boy and asked with a smile, "What's the matter?" But Riley and Wilson looked serious. I wondered what was wrong. After a brief silence, Riley spoke up.
I want Wilson to stay at our house for a while. Oh, and keep it a secret from Wilson's mom.
What's going on? It was so sudden that I couldn't understand Riley's words on the first try. I could understand if she just wanted Wilson to stay over. However, why does it need to be kept a secret from Wilson's family? Why does it have to be a secret from Wilson's family? I asked Riley and Wilson, but they said nothing. If Wilson was suddenly brought to our house, Wilson's parents might not feel good about it. Also, keeping Wilson's visit a secret doesn't seem right. It's too sudden, so maybe it's better to contact them first, I suggested to Wilson, but he kept his head down. I regained a bit of composure and thought that there must be some reason behind this, so I decided to hear from the two of them. I prepared some snacks and juice on the table. Why did you bring Wilson to our house? I had Riley and Wilson sit on chairs and asked them again. Wilson, who had been looking down earlier, began to explain slowly.
I have an older brother, Chris, who is in 6th grade. He's smart and good at sports. So, our mom always praises him with a smile, saying how amazing and hardworking he is.
But Wilson, you're good at sports and studying too, right? Riley told me you often get over 90 points on tests. Wilson shook his head.
I'm not like that at all. My brother always gets 100 points and is always first in the marathon races. Mom often compares me with my brother and gets mad at me.
I realized that Wilson had been enduring a lot at home. Tears were welling up in Wilson's eyes. He must be holding back tears too.
Mom always tells me to try harder, like my brother. Even though I'm trying hard. I told Riley that I want to leave the house secretly without letting Mom know to avoid her saying unpleasant things to me.
Wilson, you're doing your best. Yes, you're always doing your best. It's true that your brother is amazing, but you're a wonderful child too. Chris, Wilson's brother, is indeed amazing, just as Wilson said. But Wilson is also as wonderful as Chris. I remember participating in a local sports event with Wilson's family and Riley. Chris achieved remarkable results, such as winning the sprint and leading his relay team to victory. Meanwhile, Wilson cheered loudly for his teammates during the relay and rushed to comfort friends who fell and ended up last in the sprint. At that time, I felt that while Chris was amazing, Wilson also had a different kind of excellence. This brother duo was impressive. You don't have to be like your brother. It's okay for you to be just the way you are. It was difficult to find the right words to say to Wilson about his brother, but I felt I needed to say something. Everyone has their strengths, and what's important is not just being number one, but how long one can continue putting in effort. Wilson, who has been trying hard all along, is a strong child. But it's also not good to overdo it or endure too much. Why don't you take a little break from trying hard? It's okay to go at your own pace. I spoke to Wilson, who had sad eyes. Tears flowed quietly from Wilson's eyes. I thought it was best to contact Wilson's parents. After Wilson explained his situation, perhaps feeling a bit relieved, I decided to contact Wilson's mother after getting permission to do so. I tried to find her contact information from my phone history, but couldn't find it easily. I realized I hadn't talked to Wilson's mother for a while. I was thinking of inviting her for lunch when her work calmed down, as I enjoyed talking about whatever we wanted while eating delicious food together. Wilson's mother is a busy female doctor. Wilson had mentioned several times to Riley.
Mom is working late again today. I feel lonely because we can't have dinner together.
According to Riley, Wilson's mother has been busier recently and is spending less time at home. I nervously dialed her number on my phone, wondering if she would answer. Hello, it's been a while. Sorry, but I'm about to go into an emergency surgery. Wilson's mother, Imen, seemed to be busy today as well. Sorry to bother you when you're busy. Actually, Wilson is at our house right now. He wants to stay over. Is it okay if he stays here? I see, but I feel bad for Sally. Wilson is used to staying home alone, so can you ask him to go back? Wilson was shaking his head. Riley also said she's happy to play longer and do homework together if Wilson stays. Can he stay for today? We can discuss what to do in the future later. Okay, I understand. I'll wait for your call later. Please take care of Wilson. I ended the call. A few hours had passed since then. Wilson, who had initially looked sad, was now relaxing, enjoying the chocolate I prepared, and playing games with Riley. I decided to leave Wilson in Riley's care for now. While taking in the laundry, I overheard a conversation between Wilson and Riley. I was curious about what they were talking about. I quickly finished with the laundry and went closer to them without being noticed. Wilson was talking about his family.
Mom is strict, but sometimes she plays card games with me. I love that time. My brother teaches me to study. Even when we fight, my brother always apologizes in the end. He's kind.
That sounds fun. It seems like Wilson's mom would teach you some tricks at cards. And your brother is kind too.
Yes. Mom also teaches me many things and is good at cooking. I love Mom's curry. It's the best in the world.
Wow! It's that delicious. My mom is also good at cooking. Her omelets and hamburgers are the best.
I heard this conversation. Wilson was suffering from his relationship with his family, especially his mother. However, from what Wilson said, I understood that he didn't hate his mother. Children always love their parents deep down. They want to be loved. Even though Wilson endures being scolded and compared, it's because he loves his mother so much. I couldn't keep Wilson at our house forever. So, I decided to have Wilson and Riley sit on chairs again. I pretended as if I hadn't heard their conversation and asked, "What does Wilson think about his mother and brother?" Wilson's expression froze just like when he first arrived.
Well.
Riley, staring at Wilson, waited as Wilson struggled for words. A few seconds of silence followed, and Riley's stomach growled.
Mom, I'm hungry. Snacks aren't enough. Can you make curry?
Just as I was about to say, "All right, sure."
My mom's curry is really delicious. My brother loves it too. Ah.
Wilson blushed slightly, perhaps embarrassed to be talking about his mother in front of me. As I suspected, Wilson truly loves his mother. People often say that winning over a man's heart starts with his stomach, but I realized in that moment that winning over a child's heart through food is just as important. I thought that Wilson should talk to his mother again. He should express his feelings to her and tell her how much he loves her. Of course, he should tell his brother too. Wilson might feel embarrassed, but I strongly believed it was necessary. The sky outside had already turned dark. "Wilson, why don't you stay over tonight and go back home tomorrow? Try talking to your mom again, okay?" Wilson slowly nodded in agreement. The next day was a school holiday, so Wilson stayed at our house until around noon. In the evening, Riley and I took Wilson back home. Wilson's mother, Imen, gently patted his head as he returned. His brother was smiling too. Wilson looked genuinely happy. I lightly patted Wilson on the shoulder. He nodded and spoke up.
Mom. And Chris, I have something I want to talk to you about.
Oh. What is it? Wilson's brother also leaned in, ready to listen quietly. An important family conversation was about to begin. Under the pretense of having escorted Wilson home, Riley and I stayed to join the discussion. Wilson began to tell Amon the reasons why he had left home, just as he had shared with me. After listening, Wilson's brother spoke up.
But Wilson, you're always trying your best. You didn't have to leave home. I felt lonely without you.
Wilson stared intently at his brother.
Wilson isn't a big fan of math, so he often asks me for help. I teach him, and then he works hard solving lots of problems. Also, before sports day, he goes running to try and place first or second in the races. Wilson is always giving it his all.
Wilson's brother praised him sincerely. It was clear that his brother had been paying close attention to Wilson's efforts. there are always people who notice and appreciate the hard work others put in. Riley then chimed in.
I think Wilson is a hard worker too. During music class, even though he's not great at the recorder, he always says he wants to get better. I've seen him arrive at the music room a little early to get extra lessons from the music teacher.
Hearing about how much Wilson was trying from both of them, Iman knelt down and embraced Wilson tightly. Wilson looked a bit embarrassed, but his face was shining with happiness. After a moment, with tears in her eyes, Iman began to speak. I grew up constantly being compared to others too. I hated being scolded and compared, so I studied hard and became a doctor. I was surprised to learn about Iman's past. I had always thought she was someone who excelled effortlessly from a young age and had never faced setbacks. But that wasn't the case. Because of that, I kept telling you to try harder and harder, Wilson. But I was wrong. You've already been trying so hard, and I didn't even notice. It must have been so hard for you. I'm sorry. Iman hugged Wilson even tighter. Wilson nodded quietly, gently patting Iman's shoulder. The two then looked at each other and smiled.
Hey Mom, can you make some of your delicious curry? I'm hungry.
Huh? Right now? All right, sure. Riley and your mom, would you like to stay and eat too? Before we knew it, darkness had settled outside. The invisible wall that had stood between Wilson, Iman, and his brother seemed to have vanished that evening. Warmth enveloped Wilson's family. Even though it was a slightly chilly night, I felt warmth spreading through me too. Perhaps it was because I had witnessed the warmth of Wilson's family. The insects chirped as if celebrating this new step Wilson's family had taken. That night made me realize that I should also communicate more closely with Riley and my husband to deepen our bonds. After that day, Riley often brought Wilson over to play at our house. Wilson always had a radiant expression. Every time he came over, Wilson would share stories about his family. Apparently, Iman had been adjusting her work schedule to come home earlier whenever possible.
Yesterday, I showed Mom my math test where I didn't score very well.
What did she say?
I thought she'd be mad, but she said, you did your best even though it's not your favorite subject.
Wow! That's so nice. Sometimes my mom gets really mad with a scary face.
That's because you sometimes admit to sleeping during tests. Riley stuck her tongue out at me playfully. Even though Riley has been getting a bit cheekier lately, she's still my adorable daughter.
Also, every day Mom asks me what I worked hard on, and I tell her things like reading my textbook out loud or solving lots of math problems. She praises me a lot.
That's great. I'm glad you can talk so much with your mom now. Wilson nodded enthusiastically. It seemed that Iman had been re-evaluating her approach to motherhood and was connecting with her children in her own way. Thanks to Iman's adjusted work schedule, they had more family time and ample opportunities to share their thoughts and feelings. Iman and I also managed to carve out time to relax together, like we used to, enjoying cake at a cafe. Before, I mostly talked about Riley, and Iman often discussed work. But since that evening, Iman's topics had changed. She started talking about Wilson and his brother, about her children. Previously, I would feel refreshed after sharing stories about my child and having Iman listen. But exchanging stories about our children with each other was many times more enjoyable than just one-sided conversations. Iman could talk about her kids just as much as I could about mine. Since that night, Iman's aura had softened somehow. She would continue to explore her role as a mother. I also wanted to aim to be a mom whom Riley would always love dearly, not losing to Amon. Oh. Did you know there's a cosmos flower field near this cafe? There are so many blooms, from small to large. If you have time, would you like to go together after this? Yes. I'd love to. Let's take some photos and show them to Wilson and Chris. With Amon eagerly on board, we decided to head to the Cosmos field. The flowers warmly welcomed us, our bond stronger than ever. How did you enjoy today's story? Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.